going to be the one that requires like the most intensive first aid. Everyone requires first aid though. So Ashley's our camper. We're not going to make her fall though because we don't want her to get hurt.
Okay, so I'm going to walk you guys through it. So, okay, so go ahead and start.
I don't feel so good, guys. I have like a funny smell and I just don't know.
So she's talking about an aura. So her smell, the smell is an aura or a warning sign.
My legs. Okay.
Hey guys.
All right, she's shaking. They have something under her head. They're moving her onto her left side. Our right side. And she's checking out her watch. So that's an important part. Timing the seizure. The other counselors have taken the campers off to the side and are playing other games, distracting them. It's been, Emily's letting Julia know how long the seizure's been going on for 1 minute. So now we're at 2 minutes. So at 2 minutes we call med staff. And med staff will come out. Yeah, it's going to be channel 2 just in case your head counselor loses their radio while they're running. Just know channel 2 is where you're going to switch to get the med team. The med team will come out, and when they get there, they're going to get down here and ask, what's going on. They'll take over seizure first aid from you at that point. But keep timing because they want to know how long the seizure's been going on. All right, anything else, guys? Jonathan.
I think a big thing that is hard to sometimes realize, so as campers that have epilepsy, they might have seizures, but they've never seen, a lot of them have never seen another seizure because they don't know anyone else with epilepsy. So this might be the first time that they actually do see if they have a tonic-clonic, what a tonic-clonic looks like. So that might be frightening, and it's not that they're, like we kind of played it up that we were going to go stare at her and stuff. And it's more just the curiosity factor. It's not a bad thing that they're curious about it because they've probably never seen it on themselves. So just be aware of that because it's kind of something that's not intuitive that you think.
And it's okay. It's okay to talk about it.
Sure.
Like don't hide it or if they have asked questions, it's okay to talk about it. Talk about what happened. And one of the big things, and Dr. Clark, our head doctor, will talk about this as well. We are a camp for kids who have seizures. Seizures are going to happen at camp. We're going to have a seizure, we're going to recover from the seizure, and we're going to go on and get up the rock wall and go down the zip line and continue on with our day. Our campers have seizures. Seizures don't have our campers. Our campers are campers first, our people first, who just happen to have seizures. It's not going to stop our day. It's not going to stop us from having fun. All right? Okay, any questions about tonic-clonic first aid? What if nobody has a watch on? Tell your head counselor, and your head counselor will alert the AEDs that they need a watch. All right? But if you don't have your watch on when it's happening, I got you. Got you. I would hopefully call your AED and tell them, start timing and get to us because we don't have a watch for this seizure.
And you'll notice, Julia used her leg. You can use a backpack. You can use something soft, but in this circumstance, we didn't have anything soft. We were playing sports. And so your leg is a good compromise for that. You can use your hand, but a lot of times, if they're frantically throwing their head into you, you're gonna break your hand again. They're still gonna smash their head into the ground. So go ahead and put your leg into there, something like that.
All right, great. Any other questions? Those are all good questions so far. And we're all going to practice this, so don't worry if you're like, I can't remember everything. We're going to practice. All right, we're going to do complex partial. All right, complex partial, wanderer. So it's really important with complex partial to just to walk around. Do not touch them because something that could happen when you touch them is that you could get hit. And so we don't want to touch them. And Ryan.
I want to add something. You also want to talk in a nice calming voice. I used to have a lot of complex partials, and my dad would think that if you talk louder, it'd get through to me on a more psychological level. But as a matter of fact, it just agitated me. There was one funny seizure I had. I was getting water from our fridge, right? I started having it, and I accidentally spilled a little water on my dog. So my dog was upset, so he's like, "Rah!" And I'm like, "Rah!" So I just want to try and talk. Hey, Emily, are you okay? Emily, I'm right here. You want to talk nice and soft.
And,
That's what
and just following up on that, you can talk in a calm voice when they're having a tonic-clonic. They're not going to hear you. It's probably going to help you more to stay calm. Parents will talk about, I sing Itsy Bitsy Spider and they come out of it. I rub their head and I, say it's okay, it's okay. That's really helping you deal with the fact that they're having a seizure. It's not bringing them out of a seizure quicker, but whatever helps you remain calm during a seizure is what you need to do. So if, rubbing their head or patting their head during a tonic-clonic helps you, that's fine. You're not going to remember, okay?
Also, sometimes campers come in and out of their seizures, so they'll come out of it for like 10 seconds and talk to you, and then they'll fall back into it. So just be aware of that, because sometimes you think they're able to stand up and they're okay, and they're really not. They need a little more time.
I
think it's still count as
It's still like one, but I would if med staff comes, I would let them know, yeah, they came out of it for 10 seconds, and then they went back into it, just so they know kind of what's going on. But, if it's still just a 2-minute mark, and they're going in and out, I would still want to put med staff. Also, you all noticed that when they touch...
It's called clustering.
Oh, that's called clustering. When they have multiple seizures together, back to back, it's called clustering. So if they start to cluster, you also want to call med staff, because that might be normal for them, it might not be. We need to make sure.
Especially with no breaks in between, because there's such thing as status complex partial seizures. I've had a few of those where I had a string of 6 or 7 in a period of 10 minutes. If they occur right back on top of each other without a break in between, that's still considered a status. So it's still pretty serious.
And then you'll notice that when they touch me, I hit them. Fight or flight is still an act during a seizure, especially during complex partials. So if you come up to them and you're like, no, go this way, they're either going to fight you or they're going to run. So you don't want either of those circumstances. That's why you kind of just put your arms out, and most of the time they're just going to walk away. Just keep them away. Like if you're down by the lake, keep them away from the lake. If you're at a campfire, keep them away from the campfire. Just keep in mind that fight or flight is still very much an act.
And when you see them picking at their clothes, stuff like that where, that's a seizure, so just make sure when you see that complex partial happening that you do that. You start to get in your stance of keeping them where they need to be. All right, we're going to go over absence. And this is the one that you'll see most often, absence seizure.
So it's actually more common than tonic-clonic seizures. So you know.
Yeah.
Hey guys, how are you? I'm so excited to be at camp.
All right. She just started
How
staring.
are you guys? I'm so excited to be at camp.
We're so excited.
Thank you for next pizza raffle. I'm so excited too. Every time I come all the way to the top. I'm so excited. Come all the way to the top. You go on zip line. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's gonna be so great.
So she's just picked up where she left off. Sometimes people have absence seizures and they don't know where they left off. They'll come out and be like, oh, where am I? But most of the time it's a stare off and come back. Less than 20 seconds most of the time. And people, kids can have hundreds of absence seizures during the day. So you just want to be aware when you have a camper that has absence seizures, sort of the type of seizures they have. Are those the 10-second absence seizures? Or, are we having some 30-second to a minute? And still with absence, if they get to 2 minutes, you still want to call the med staff and let them know. Okay? It's no less of a seizure than a tonic-clonic. All right? It's still a seizure. You still need to first aid that. Yes, Meridian.
Same with counselors, like if they start going into a seizure?
Yes, so if you're a counselor that has epilepsy, definitely you need to tell your cabin what type of seizures you have, what they look like, all of that kind of stuff, because yeah, counselors can have seizures just as well as campers can this week. I try to tell parents, like, this is the worst environment we could take a kid with epilepsy. It's hot, they forget to drink water, we're keeping them up all hours of the day doing different activities, and so it's really on us to make sure that they're drinking water, that they are getting rest at cabin time. That's why we go to the cabin. It's not to go and play football, it's to go in and rest, be in the AC, that when you have curfew and it's 8:30, that you're taking them to the med center, and then you're taking them to the cabins and getting them ready for bed so that they can have a good night's sleep. So it's really dependent on our leadership to make sure that we have the least amount of seizures that we can. We're not going to stop all the seizures by giving them water, trust me, it's not going to happen. But we can help out the week by doing what we need to as leaders at camp.
Oh, they also won't always know that they had a seizure, that there are soft seizures or any of the seizures in general. So they might just be like, all right, why are you all staring at me? Let's go. And then sometimes they'll like know they had a seizure, and some campers are still really new to seizures, and so they'll cry. Or sometimes that's like how you know that they come out of it. When they come out of the seizure, they cry. And so it's important to really know your campers, but that is just something to be aware of. Like some of them are going to be really upset they just had a seizure, and some of them are like, okay, cool, let's go. Like,
Yeah. And so their parents might ask you when you get here, are you going to let us know every time they have a seizure? No. We are not calling parents every time a kid has a seizure because we, be on the phone all day. If it's something where we have to where the med team has to administer Diastat, and so have we talked about Diastat yet?
No.
Does anybody talk about Diastat? Okay. So Diastat is an emergency medication that is given to campers when they are at the 5-minute mark of a seizure. And usually at that point, the med staff will ask you to take the kids away. And this medication is delivered through the rectum, so they have to undress them and everything. But they usually are really good about being discreet. They'll have the campers go to another place. They'll sort of block what's going on, and that Diastat should relieve the seizure. You'll have a lot of campers that come to camp with Diastat just in case they have a seizure that lasts more than 5 minutes. Oh, VNS, yes. Since we're talking about treatment. So on your page your head counselors have, they have people who have the vagus nerve stimulator. And I don't know all the particulars. I just know that it's on the vagus nerve, and there's a little implant in their chest. And if they feel like they're going to have a seizure, they have a magnet. Most of them have a magnet, and if they feel like they're going to have a seizure, they can swipe the magnet over the VNS, and it will help prevent the seizure from happening. Now, all of you have VNS magnets in your cabin box, so one of you in your cabin should have a magnet on them, and you should know your campers that have VNS, so you can go ahead and swipe that. All right?
Take it away from your walkie-talkie.
Yes.
It causes interference.
And so that would be helpful, for somebody else besides your head counselor to have, because they have the walkies and the magnet interferes with the walkies.
also, if you have like a camera, anything with a screen, if you put the magnet next to it, you are losing that. So I always put it in a pocket or in a back, like far away from anything electronic.
All right. Yes.
Just one last thing. I know that's like really scary because very few coming in when my first year. I didn't know what epilepsy was. I didn't know what a seizure was. I had never seen it. What you see on TV is not what you're going to see in real life. So while this might be kind of overwhelming and a little bit scary at first, if you need help, like that's why your head counselors are there. If you're in a situation where you're overwhelmed because literally the kid dropped right there with you, get help. Like, it's going to be scary for you the first time. I can remember my very first seizure. It was like right there, well not mine, but helping with the seizure. It was over there, and it terrified me because it's so like different. So don't feel overwhelmed and don't feel scared now. Y'all will all do very, very well. You'll be great.
All right. So on that note, what we're going to do is we're going to split into our cabin groups, and let's go into brother-sister cabin groups, and we're going to